Hey folks, Paul Abernathy here. Welcome back to another video. If you like our videos, do me a favor. You've seen them in the past or your expectation that I'm here to bring you great content. Do me a favor. Consider giving us a like and sharing our videos with other people. It really helps. And again, don't forget to subscribe to whatever platform you're listening to or watching on because it does help us out and allow other people to find out about our products. Remember, we don't advertise on ad sharing platforms. We are organic, and people come to us because they love our training, whether it's our Fast Tracks program or some educational videos that we have over on fasttrackstube.com, which is our exclusive video platform. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of exam prep today, kind of look at a couple questions, kind of dissect them, and I'll give you some tips along the way. One thing about when I explain the National Electrical Code, I'm not just showing you questions and just letting you guess the question. I'm an educator. I've been doing this for over 32 years. I like to show you where it is in the code, take you there, let you see it, and kind of get a feel for how you get there. Now, one of the downsides to our online is that we don't have an index. So one thing I encourage you to do is get used to using the index if you're preparing for an electrical exam. Take your index, look at a question, dissect the root of that question, and we have a video on that, how to dissect the root. It's available to our Fast Track students in our program, and it kind of teaches you how to look at a question, okay? All right, let's go look at a couple questions, and we'll see how we dissect it. And what we're going to be using today is the latest addition to our database of questions. So we have in our Fast Tracks programs, the Black and the Plus program, we have over 1,200 exam style questions, and that's the competency review and the practice questions. But we added another 700 plus questions to our database for you. More resources. That's what makes our program so affordable because of what all you get. And you get access to me. So that's a difference too, because once you become a student of mine, you always have me just one click away. If you get our mobile app on your phone, then you always have access to me. There's a neat chat now feature where you can ask me any question on a job site. I am your consultant in your pocket, and that's another reason we never leave you hanging. All right? Okay. Enough of the sales pitch. Let me get you to the code question. All right. First code question we're going to look at here is, again, if you're taking an exam, there's certain things that you'll know. There's certain things that'll stand out here. You're not going to be able to use the index to answer every question. We already get that. You should know that by now. The reason that our course is so popular is because we walk you through the very beginning all the way through 19 units. So a lot of times, the questions you might see on the exam, you won't need to go to the index because you'll just know it right off of your studying. That's why we do it that way. A lot of programs, and I'm not selling you, I'm just telling you facts. A lot of programs will give you nothing but code questions. And they really aren't designed for exam prep. And they certainly don't meet the threshold of what we created in the Fast Track system, which is, again, federally protected, trademarked type of program that really leads you through. I mean, Fast Tracks is a protected mark, and it's all built around our educational system. We want to teach you from the beginning all the way up through special occupancies, special equipment, all those type of things. But we're going to drip feed you every unit. Okay, so this is extra questions. These are over and above that we're going to give you in the database. So that's what we're looking at today. Oh, by the way, the Fast Tracks is available in 2017, 2020, and 2023. You do not get these bonus questions in the 2017, only the 2020 and 2023. Sorry. Okay, all right, so let's look at the question. All right, so the question says a minimum size for a single conductor used for power limited fire alarm, okay, so PLFA circuits shall be blank AWG. So the first thing that you'll know if you're an astute studier of the NEC is that you need to dissect where we're looking. Well, obviously we're looking for conductor sizes, but where is it specific to? Fire alarm. What article in the National Electrical Code focuses on fire alarm? Now, we're not talking about NFPA 72. We're talking about what's germane to the NEC. And we know that Article 760 is focused on it. Now, Two ways to find this if you didn't know, but you knew the target here, the root is we're dealing with fire alarm circuits, in this case, power limited. Then you could go to the front of the table of contents and look at the different articles, and you'll find 760. You could go back to the index and look under fire alarm, and you'll find something there that'll get you to 760, and maybe even talk about the circuits and minimum size. But you got to remember that some articles are fairly small, and 760 is one of those. It's not overly extensive, so what we use is a technique called bold scanning. And so we're going to go to 760. Now, I'm going to be using Link. Y'all all know how I love to promote Link. I think it's one of the best things that NFPA has done when it comes to bringing the code book to your fingertips. So again, I have another video on that. Go recommend you watch it over on our YouTube channel. It's available. But let's go on and go to Link. And here I am in Link, and I want to get us to 760. Remember, it's fire alarms, so the trigger is you need to understand that when it asks about fire alarms, this is why I tell you in our course, you guys have heard me say this before, we have what's called flashcards, electronic. You should be making a flashcard on every article so that you can just flip it and know exactly what it is. 430 motors, 210 branch circuits, 215 feeders, 225 outside branch and feeder circuits. You should be just knowing these things. And by simply being able to go with it, 334 non-metallic sheath cable, again, 336 tray cable, 338 surface entrance cable, you should get fluid in all these type of things. It's going to make your life so much easier on exam, and you can make it fun because flashcards can be fun. All right, so let's look here. I'm going to get us to 760 in the code. And again, I'm using Link for those that want to know. So here we go. Here's article 760 fire alarm. Now I want to show you it's not that big. It jumps pretty quickly up in numbers. So as you can see, it jumps up, right, to 735. Now you could probably go to the index and get a little more detail. In fact, let me do that just because I don't have it available in the program. But if I have my code book, remember what our question is. It's the minimum size of the power limited. So if I were to go to my index and I just say here, the trigger, let's go to fire alarm. And I'm going to do that. Do that with me. Pause the video if you want. Go to fire alarm and see what you've got. And see if there's anything in your index. And I'm going to go look. Okay, fire alarm systems. We see that. It tells us 760. And a quick look down this, you will see, let's go down. Okay, non-power limited circuits, 760 part 2. And then we see conductors, 760.49b. Okay. And I'm just going to keep looking to make sure. Power limited, and I guess our question was for power limited. You go down, you'll see power limited, not non-power limited, power limited. That was our question. And that is part 3. Now, under part 3, if you're following along in your code books, folks, under part 3, you see where the references are indented. That means they're germane to the power limited. And you go down and you'll see conductors size 760.142, a great place to start. Now we did this all really quickly if you're in an exam. The trigger was fire alarm circuits and you know that it's power limited. So boom, it was right there under fire alarm. So we're just going to go, save us a little time. We're going to go to 760.142. Okay, so I'm going to put the code book away and we'll go to 760.142. And you're probably going to get there a lot quicker in the paperback version than you do in the electronic because you got to scroll, and I am refusing to use the search feature. Okay, so I went too far, so here we go. Right there. All right, and here was what it says. Let me go on and see if I can't zoom in a little bit for you. It says conductors. Let's see, conductors of 20, let's see here. Conductors of 26 AWG shall be permitted only where the splice, okay, and then it goes right here. It says, lastly, it says single conductors, and that's what we're talking about. Single conductor shall not be smaller than 18 gauge. Now, by the way, folks, this is another reason why Link is so good. Not for taking an exam. You got to have your code book. But interesting is it always gives you a little bit of extra content down here, kind of just like a handbook in your pocket. It's awesome. But we see 18 inches. So we're going to come back to our question. You got all your options here. We'll click 18 inches. And we have a reference here. You click the reference again, 760.142, that's where we went. Now, I get people that ask me this all the time, folks. They will say, Paul, you only get 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes a question. Yeah, but when you're studying, you're not focusing on that. Again, relax. You're trying to dissect the question. You're trying to learn from the question how to use that index if there's something you just don't know. Now, if you're in our Fast Tracks program, you might have known that question right away. And you just answer it. You bought yourself a lot of time on an exam because it mounts up every time you answer something quickly. If you haven't watched our 3-wave method video, go check it out. Just search for 3-wave method on YouTube or Fast Tracks Tube. And in fact, it's free view over on Fast Tracks Tube if you want to get used to that platform, fasttrackstube.com. Okay, just like it says down here, except for system, it's tube.com. So go check it out. But if you are studying for an exam, take your time. It's not until the last 2 weeks that you need to worry about timing yourself. And the best way that you can time yourself is not to worry about the timers that are on the courses. It's to set your phone at 2.5 minutes or 2 minutes, depending on the number of questions on your exam and what it breaks down to. I like to just use 2 minutes because most exams are at least 2 minutes per question. Set your timer. And again, how you would do that is I would just go right into my phone. I go into my clock feature, right? And in your clock feature, right here, you have options. And I'm going to go to timer. Here's my timer. I'm going to set my timer for 2 minutes. Just like that. And I'm going to start that timer and I'm going to start answering that question. When I answer the question, I'm going to pause it. Okay, just click, where's the pause? The red button. Just pause it. And see how quickly you answered it. Now, if it gets down below 2 minutes, it'll start alarming and go in the negative. Still keep trying to answer that question because now you want to see how much time over 2 minutes it took you. All right. So the reason I usually teach this technique, which is, again, you don't hear people talking about it. Everybody just says timer, timer, timer. Use the one that's online. Do all 100 questions. No, you need to do it question by question by question, so that you can learn during this learning phase how to dissect a question. And then once you learn the key dissection, again, you get to learn the index, you get to learn the table of contents if that's where you're going to go, you get better at it. When it's time for an exam, it's going to raise your level of confidence, make you feel very comfortable at navigating this book, which is not the easiest book, whether you're tabbed out or not the easiest book in the world. So, you don't need to be an expert on everything in the NEC, but you need to be very proficient in how you maneuver it. And that's what we try to teach you, all right? Another question, let's go. All right, so this question here says a service has 500 kc mil conductors on a 400 amp service, and we'll have a blank AWG supply side bonding jumper. Okay, so we know what the conductors are that are feeding the service, critically important. And you all know, and I teach this in my course, what are the 3 most important tables in Article 250 to remember or commit to memory? You ready? 250.66 for grounding electrode conductor sizing, right? Very important. 250.122 for sizing equipment grounding conductors, which go with branch circuits and feeders, okay, based on the size of the overcurrent device. Very important to remember that one. And then one of the tables that was derived from 250.66, but it stands on its own, is probably one of my favorite tables, being I serve on Copainter 5, is 250.102C. I think C1 actually, but that gets you where you need to be. That table is amazing because it determines the minimum sizing for the grounded conductors, supply side bonding jumpers, system bonding jumpers. It is an amazing table. And that's where we're going to go here because we're talking about what? A supply side bonding jumper. So you know this if you're in our course. But where would you go in the National Electrical Code? Well, you could probably go in here in your index and you can play around with it. And that's why I say dissect. So here I'm going to say, okay, well, let's see for something under supply side. just to see if there is anything under it. And that's what you should be doing, just kind of going through and seeing if there's anything in here that would be under supply side. And if you've already found other ways to do it, that's perfectly fine. But I'm going to look under here and see if there's anything under supply side. No. Okay. So we know it's bonding jumper. So we're going to look under bonding jumpers. And remember, this is why you want to start to do this slowly and look for these key terms, because the next time you see a similar question, okay, I might already know where to go, and I kind of told you table to go to. But this is why we dissect it. And you're going to get other questions like this or similar. Look, don't be in a hurry to answer all your questions. That's why I don't like the timers type of thing until you get down to the last 2 weeks. So let's see here. So let me go under bonding jumpers. Oh, kind of hit my screen there, folks. There we go. And let's see what we get under bonding jumpers. See what we got. I got to drop my glasses down, folks, because I'm getting old and can't see. Let's see what we've got here. Under bonding, okay, we have bonding. And we're going to go down. And let's see. I'm going to be looking for, let's see here. Look under, that's bonding. So now I'm not going to do that. I'm going to look more, I'm going to look a little more detailed than that. Let's see, bonding jumpers. It says see jumpers bonding. All right, so we're going to go to jumpers. Okay. And again, if you're in our course, you guys already know where to go. You'd have been done with this question already. But we're now learning that if I have a question about bonding jumpers, that I don't go to bonding jumpers. I know that we go to jumpers, and it'll say bonding. Okay. This is why we do the index. And this is also why I wish Link with NFPA, if you're listening, add the index to it. It can't be that difficult to add that in. And it really helps us educators who use Link to teach. And we're always promoting NFPA's products. Okay. Again, my screen keeps moving. Apologize. All right, let's see here. So let me go to, and it's doing it again. What is going on with my thing here? Okay, hold on. Let me just click away. All right, so let me go to jumpers real quick and see what we got. Okay. Move my glasses down. And when you're at jumpers, okay, I'm at J, jumpers. So I'm going to go down to jumpers. Not very big. You see bonding. And you come down. And boom, I see supply side. Okay. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, well, if you're very familiar with that, you know that that's not where you need to be under that. So I'm looking down. Let's see here. Equipment, no. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay, service equipment. The question was about service equipment. And it says, okay, since we're under bonding jumpers and it says service equipment, it's 250.28. That's going to talk about main bonding jumpers. We see 250.92b. It says bonding component. And we see 250.102c. That's where we know that we need to be. So again, that's just one way to find it. So I would have gone to services and I would have gone to knowing what I know, I would have gone to 250.102c and go from there. But again, here's the thing. Why I say take your time on these questions. Because you really need to look and see what possible way that you could find this answer, okay? And the index is not going to be the holy grail, folks. I promise you. It's not going to help you pass an exam. If you've got to look up every question, that's not happening, okay? So I'm going to look under services, and you're going to learn, again, everything that you possibly could find it. Now, if there's folks out there that don't like this method, say that I'm taking too long, and if there's any pinhead out there that says, well, you only got 2 minutes, you've already taken longer than that, you don't understand how to study, you've been misled by your instructor, or you're just clueless, because there is a proven method. I have helped thousands of people learn the NEC. There's a method to the madness. You don't like my style? Do me a favor. Stop watching any of my videos. Unsubscribe. Remember, I'm not about the clicks. I'm here to make you a better electrician. Okay, so we're talking about how to dissect questions. And I'm beating this question to death. I'm getting my money's worth here. So I'm going to go to services real quick. And we're going to see if there's anything under services. Okay, so I've got my code book. I'm going to look under service. So here I am under services, or at least I'm under S. And I'm looking under service equipment. Okay, looking down to see if there's anything beneficial for me down here. And I don't see anything in there that's totally beneficial. They're going to help me anything. Now, under services, I'm just looking under the term service. And I don't see anything overly beneficial there. So while there might be other things in here, we have dissected this question down. And what we have determined that we would go to bonding jumper, right? And then it send us to jumper bonding. This is why I tell you folks, it's so important to learn tables and certain things in the code and do your best to commit to memory. Remember, 250.66, grounding electrode conductor sizing, okay? 250.122, equipment grounding conductor sizing. 250.102C, sizing minimum size for the grounded conductor, supply side bonding jumpers, main bonding jumpers, system bonding jumpers, all covered by that table. That's where we're going to go. So let's go to the code. And it's a 500 is what's being used, okay? All right, so we're over here, and let's go on and get me down to, let's get us to 500. 250, 102. So let's see here, bear with me as I work on my eyes here. All right, 250, now let's get down to 102. Much easier if you have a code book, probably. If you're dealing in being able to flip through the pages, you probably have a tab for it. Let's see, does my code book have a tab for that? Let's look and see. Let's look and see. Absolutely does. Of course, my tabs are beat to crap, but there is a tab that takes you right there. So that's another example why tabs are great, if you can do that in your state. All right, so let's look and see here. So here's 25102. As you can see right here, it's for the grounded conductor, it's for bonding conductors and jumpers. So that's bonding conductors and bonding jumpers. So here we go. Sizing, supply side bonding jumper. That's what our question was about. Now, if you notice down here, it says, and we only had one raceway, that's all it seemed to talk about. It says a service with a 500 kc mil conductor. Always assume copper unless stated otherwise. It's 400 amp service, and it's talking about sizing a supply side bonding jumper. That was our question. Well, here we go. It's size supply side bonding jumper for a single raceway or cable. It just says, shall not be smaller than in table 250.102C1, right there. All right, so here's the table. Let's click on it, expand it. This is what y'all are familiar with seeing. Over here, it's a 500 kc mil, so it falls between over 350 through 600. Again, that's 600 kc mil, okay? And then over here, if it's copper, then it's a 1-aught. If it was aluminum, it'd be a 3-aught, okay? Now, remember, copper unless stated otherwise, right? So we're going to come back to our question, and it clearly is 1-aught, and here's your reference. 250.102C1 and the table that's associated with it. So why do we spend so much time on this? Because in an exam, you're probably going to answer this in 5 seconds, okay? You're going to go there, boom, 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 done. The reason I dissected it is because we learned a couple things. You're not going to find supply side bonding jumper. You're going to find jumpers bonding. You go to service and give you multiple references. You should be able to look at that, and over time, you're going to know that 28's main bonding jumpers, okay? You're going to be looking at 66, and that's going to be grounding electrode conductors. You're going to know that when you see 102, that's going to be the minimum sizing for the grounded conductor, although it still has to handle the calculated load for the grounded conductor, but it can't be less than this table. You're going to do supply side bonding jumpers, system bonding jumpers, main bonding jumpers. All of them are going to send you here to this table. So you just want to get familiar with it. And that way it's going to save you a lot of time on exam. But by us dissecting it, we saw that the index is not the holy grail. There was a point, there was a method to this madness. I want you to not think of the index as a crutch, okay? The index is a helpful tool. But this is why in our Fast Tracks program, we teach you 19 units to minimize the need for the index, because we're going to teach you things that you'll just lock in your memory, and you'll be able to use to help you be more efficient on the exam. But I'm going to tell you something. I am a bit selfish. I am really not here to really be focused on you passing an exam. That's why you maybe got this course, but we sell other courses. My goal is for you to leave here and be a better electrician. That's what my goal is. Get Link on your phone, free. Okay, get Link on your phone, and well, not free. Link isn't free. My app is free, and we have a lot of resources on my app, calculators and everything like it. That's free. Pay for a subscription of Link once you get out in the field, and you'll be able to answer any question that you need. And if you're a student of mine, you know I'm always here to help you. Okay. All right. So anyway, pretty good question. Let's go on to the next one. Let's do another one. All right. Listed wall-mounted control devices shall be at the top and bottom of the stairways if there are blank or more steps between each floor. Okay, so this makes sense, right? You want to be able to turn the lights on at the top of the stairs. You want to be able to turn the lights off at the bottom of the stairs. You're getting ready to head up the stairs. You want to be able to turn the lights on. Again, this is a safety thing, but it's based on a number of risers that you have or steps. So where do you find this in the code? Well, so when you think about this, this is a lighting requirement, okay? And you're thinking, where do I find the rules for different branch circuits, different things that talks about the lighting, right? When we know receptacles and placements are 210.52, we can go back into the back of the book and see what we've got in the index, and you should pause this if you don't know the answer right away, okay? Because this one's got terms in it, and you could say, well, I'll look up listed wall-mounted control devices, a switch, if you will. And you say, well, there's very limited. Stairways. Maybe something's in the back for stairways. That type of thing. Or maybe you know that you're talking about the different devices, just like we would for receptacles in 210.52. Maybe you remember something like 210.70 talks about luminaires and things like that and the controls of luminaires. I don't know. Let's go to the book. So I'm going to go to the index. You get your index, pause this video, go to the index, and I'm going to look at a couple things. So first things, low-hanging fruit. I'm going to go and look up stairways just to see. It can't be that obvious, right? But let's just go look and see what we've got. Remember, you can always pause the video. And remember, you know, if you already know the answer, you mark it, you go on. You don't waste your time on it if you know it. If you got to use the index, this is where you're going to learn what is and what isn't in the index. Okay, so I'm going to go here and let's see. I've got stairway chair lifts. Okay, I've got nothing else other than that in the back for when it comes to stairs. Okay, good to know, right? The next thing we'll look at here on this one is, let's say, luminaires, because obviously the wall switch here, or the listed wall-mounted control device, is doing what? Controlling a luminaire to make sure we have a certain number of lumens on the steps, so it's a safety thing, right? All right, so I'll go look under luminaries. And again, you're going to have some knowledge to be efficient in looking things up. So let's go look under luminaries and see what we see under luminaries, if there is anything under luminaries. Obviously, a defined term in the NEC now, so let's look under luminaries. All right, I got luminaries, and I'm going to look down and see what we might have under luminaries. Let's see here, and let's see here. Go down, outlet requirements, show windows, spray, strip lights. Okay, not much help here under luminaries, unless I'm totally missing it. And I could be missing it. Except for the fact that we have to look down and go, okay, well, let's see here. Nothing else. Now, we do see lighting outlet requirements, right? It says see lighting outlets. Well, we know that this switch is going to be controlling a lighting outlet, so that might be something that would help us get to where we need to go. So let's go to lighting outlets, see if we can chase that rabbit hole. If you already know the answer, you mark it and you move on. If you know where to go, and you've been in the fast tracks because this is clearly covered in the fast tracks. So let's go to outlets real quick. And remember, outlets are not the devices you put in the outlet box. Outlets are a location which you put devices into. So we look at outlets and we kind of go down here and I go and we look at required outlets. Okay, so we know the required outlets are in, let's say, this stairway, and we know that the switching aspect of it is based on the number of steps. So we're going to go and look at, let's see here, we're going to go and look at, where were we at? We're going to go look at the outlets, and we're going to look at required. So we're going to go to part 3 of 210. Okay. So let's do that real quick. Okay. And let's see. So we're going to go to 210. Remember, deductive reasoning, index is not the perfect holy grail, but you got to look at the application. And if you're struggling, like, what are we talking about? We're talking about lighting outlets that are in a certain space that's required to be switched if we have a number of steps. And so where do we get the requirements for that? And other than go to 410, which is luminaires in general, we're talking about circuits right now. Everything we're talking about is circuits and switching and all of that type of thing. So let's go to 210. And I'm going to go to part 3. Bear with me here as I can't hardly see it. All right. Let me get to the beginning. Okay, so this is receptacle outlets, but you notice it says required outlets. Okay, we know what's required in the stairway. All right, so let's talk about it. So let's go down, bold scan. Everything's talking about receptacles. We can skip past that. We're not talking about receptacles and spacing. Quickly, you're moving through outdoor outlets. Okay, laundry, yada, yada, yada. We're moving through it. Guest room right there, 62, 63, meetings, not about it. Oh, boom. Lighting outlets, right? Indwelling applications. Now, remember our question. This is one of the important things about bold scanning. Let's go back just to the question real quick. And you notice it's talking about the number of steps. So you're looking for these numbers. These can be triggers when you're bold scanning. Also, the term steps. You could use the listed wall mounting. Kind of have all those jumbled around in your head as you're bold scanning. So we'll go back to bold scan real quick. All right. And you're looking down here. And what we're trying to do is right in here. So these additional locations. So these are your general lighting locations. But we're talking about in Stairway, right? So we go down here and we're thinking, okay, where do we need to be? And I see the word listed control device. Okay, I see stairway. Okay, I see between floor levels, stairway again. I see the term 6 or more. I see 6 corresponds with some of the choices we have. So that's where bold scanning. We're looking for things like stairway, all that type of stuff. And here's what it says: where lighting outlets are required in an interior stairway with 6 or more risers between floor levels, there shall be a listed wall-mounted control device at each floor level and at each landing level that includes a stairway entry. All right, kind of clarification. So if you have multiple levels and you just have a stairway that goes from first floor to the second floor, and that's it, and even if you have a landing, if you can't leave that landing, then you only need the switching at the top and at the bottom. Makes sense? If you have 3 stories, and you're going up to a landing and there's an exit from that landing into the floor, then you have to have a switch at that landing because there's an exit onto that floor from that landing. So you'd have a switch at the bottom, at the top, and then on that landing. If it only was one level and you're going from the top to the bottom, is when it's 6 or more risers, you have to have a switch at the top and the bottom. If you have less than 6 risers, not required to have any of the switching on it. Okay, so there you go. How about that? Okay. Now, as far as the lighting, here's where the requirement here, additional, you have to have at least one lighting outlet controlled. Okay, so you got to have the lighting outlet control by a listed wall-mounted control device shall be installed in hallways, stairways, detached garages, detached. So that's the rule that requires the light there. All we did was look at the rule that requires when you have to switch it at multiple levels, okay, and the number of risers. So that takes us back to the question. Why did we spend time doing this? Again, I got my haters out there that say, you don't have enough time to do all that looking up. Then you're a pinhead and you don't understand why I teach people and why we're doing this. Please leave now. Don't waste my time. Those that want to learn know that we want to get our value out of our questions. You dissect it, okay? Remember, I didn't get in this industry to make friends. I came here to teach and make better electricians. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you're going to look back on it and thank me for my attitude and how I approach my teaching style, okay? Just is what it is. So answer this question, 6 or more. Again, your code reference, boom, right there. 210.70A23. Again, it took you a little bit to get there. The index wasn't as helpful, but you have to look at it and know what we're talking about here sometimes in a question and use some of your knowledge in the field. A lot of exams will have theory or code knowledge, and you're going to have to pull on your knowledge because in order to sit for your exam, you have to have a certain amount of time in the field. So it's assumed that you generally learn some basic knowledge. So in this case, you learned that this was talking about the lighting in a stairway, and it's talking about the switching of that required lighting and where you would put these switches or these listed wall-mounted control devices, where you would do that. The reason that this changed, folks, from switches to listed wall-mounted control devices, because there's other options today other than simple toggle switches. There's a lot of options out there. Technology has changed, so it was broader to call it a listed wall-mounted control device. And it might just mount straight to the wall. It doesn't necessarily now have to be powered from the building's electrical system anymore. We have a lot of wireless opportunities that are out there. So had to change the name to do that. But as long as it's listed and it is wall mounted, you can control it. Here, it's needed 6 or more risers. Make sense? All right. This is just knowledge that you need to obtain. But we showed you how you could dissect it. And now you're learning what you can and you can't find from the index. All right, let's do one more and I'll cut you folks loose. The next one we've got here is type MV cable. Shall be supported at a maximum of blank feet between supports. Okay, that's medium voltage. Where do we go for medium voltage? All right, you go to the index, and if you're going to use the index, that's pretty straightforward. Supporting question. So let's see what's under medium voltage. Do me a favor, pause this video, pause the video, and go under and look under medium voltage. Let's see here. I'm going to go here. All right, I'm in the back of the index, and I'm going to look and see if there's anything under medium voltage. All right, there's medium voltage, type MV, and it says supports, and it's sending me to 311.40. Okay, so we're going to see. So let's go on over to the code. All right, now, one thing to remember here, this is the 2020 edition. It would be 311. But the 2023 edition of the NEC, so here's a little bonus for you. The 2023 edition created a new article for medium voltage. That's article 315. Code reference the same section, just a new article. See, that's why it's important to learn. This is a 2020. We're looking at 2023 examples. So let's go on and go over to it. Just kind of tricking you there, but I want you to be alert at what cycle you're using. So here we are. We would have looked in the back some sports. That would have been an easy one for us. We're going to go to 315 because we're in the 2023 edition here. As you can see, brand new. Kind of moved out of 311, put everything, and it also expanded because it used to be just medium voltage. Now it says medium voltage, conductors, cables, cable joints, and cable terminations. A little bit broader now for medium voltage. And we're going to go down to where it's said to go down to 40. And I can click on the left and get me there a little quicker. And here we go. So here's our supporting, maximum between supports. Okay. So here's, 40 right here. So what does it say? Type MV, oh, you got to see it here. Type MV cable termination of equipment installed in pull boxes and vaults shall be secured and supported by metallic or non-metallic supports suitable. Now you remember, our answers were numbers and feet. So we could skip the fluff, okay? Skip the fluff and get down here and be careful of how we read the question because it's asking about support. So here it says intervals not exceeding 5 feet from terminations or a maximum of 6 feet between supports. So what's the gut thing for you to do is, oh, you see that 5 feet and you go boom and hit it, okay? But then you're like, well, it was a maximum distance that it was asking. And it says maximum distance is 6 feet. So let's not make a mistake on an exam that you can't take back and go here and click 5. You want to click 6 because that is the maximum. And there's your code reference right there. All right, folks, you know, learning the National Electrical Code, there's a reason I came up with this course. I get it. It's tough. And students that are in our program struggling right now, Unit 8, 11, and 13 is the toughest units in our program. I am here to help you. That's the difference in our program. You're not left alone. Now, we do have a budget program, which you don't get my additional support. But you can always post questions over at the Sparky Hub, and we'll answer your question. So you do get support, and it's a fraction of the cost of our full program. But I think if you go pricing around programs out there, really look at them, because I know people have told me, for $425 or $525 if you want videos as well over on our Fast Tracks tube. That's the difference between the black and the plus. Is the black is our basic course. The plus, you also get a year's access to all of our videos that we make over on Fast Tracks tube, which are exclusive. So that's the only difference in the two. We teach you the code. If you come into this thinking you know the code, we're going to tell you to forget what you think you know, start from Unit 1 and work your way through. That's what we want to do. And we want to teach you the NEC. I'm always here to ask questions. That's the difference between a structured program and just trying to answer questions on your own. We're going to teach you so that when you're in the exam or you're in the field, these things just come to you. All right? It's all about building up this memory, okay? This repository of knowledge that, believe it or not, it'll come out when it's needed, okay? All right. Hope you got something out of it today, folks. Till next time, stay safe. God bless.